Pastor Michael Robinson. It's good to have you with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. We are looking forward to getting to know you a little more and hearing your story about being a bivocational pastor in Philadelphia. If you don't mind, if you could start by sharing a little bit about you before we get into the details.
Yes, and thank you, Nicole, and congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you.
Kudos to you. A little bit about my background ministry-wise. It seems like I'm all over the place sometimes. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I try to serve the best I can. This year, there was a major fire in Philadelphia early in the year where it was billed as one of the worst fires in the country that killed multiple people. I, along with some pastors, got some pastors together and we raised $40,000 to give to the survivors of that family. And so I was pretty proud of being an organizer of that fundraising event. I sit on the board of the Philadelphia Baptist Association. I'm proud of that servant leadership role. I'm a member of the Pennsylvania News Media Association. I write news articles and columns. And I'm a police chaplain. I'm an alumni of the FBI's Citizen Academy. We do a weekly food distribution at our church for those that are in need of food. We had a major community health day at our church this year, where we brought out doctors from Drexel University School of Medicine and med students from the School of Medicine to do free health exams to families in the community that may not have the resources to have a full physical exam and that kind of thing. So we were proud to do that. And we're hosting a movie night on July 9th for the community because my church is located in North Philadelphia in a community that's very low income. And so to have disposable income to take your kids to a movie might be easy for you and I, but for families that are counting pennies, that might be difficult. So we're hosting this community day where it circles around a movie event. And we're doing that in our church yard, our community yard. And then every Sunday, the last Sunday of the month, I reserve for my associate pastors to preach. I remember when I was coming up in the ranks, I was like, when's the coach gonna put me in? When's the coach gonna put me in? So I always committed to myself, if I ever became a pastor, that I would always give opportunities for my associate ministers and pastors to preach. So every last Sunday is dedicated to them. And grew up in Chester, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. Grew up in a public housing project. Didn't see this coming. And I just thank God for the many doors that he's opened. I'm a graduate of Philadelphia Biblical University, which is now Caron University. I earned my master's in Christian counseling. My undergrad I earned at Clarion University, one of the 14 state schools right outside of Pittsburgh, about an hour and a half outside of Pittsburgh. And my undergrad was in communications. And I'm also director of community outreach and hiring for Temple University. So that's the quick rundown of a little bit about me, just a little bit about me.
Well, that is a lot.
I don't have any hair.
And you are doing so much. And how do you find balance to be able to handle all of these things that are on your plate?
It's a
very important things on your plate.
Pardon me. It is a tightrope balancing act, and you have to purposely, etch out time for all of those kinds of things I described, and you have to also, pardon me, etch out time, for family, because early on, I wasn't as good a time manager, and I hope I'm a better time manager now, but I used to always take my family for granted that they'll understand, me doing this and doing that and doing that. And then it hit me, why should my family suffer from not having me present when everybody else gets the best of it? And so that hit me. And that was a result, pardon me, of a conversation my daughter, I think it was my daughter or son that said, Dad, you do all of this stuff, but we want to see you too. And that just like hit me like a ton of bricks. So it was at that point that I purposely made sure that my family gets quality time from me. And that's important. It's still a balancing act, but I do good at that.
Well, that's good.
I did that.
Because a lot of pastors, and especially newer pastors, don't understand or haven't yet embraced that balance. And hearing you share that it's critical that you do carve out that time, I'm sure will bless a lot of people. So in North Philadelphia, your church is planted. Was there a specific reason that is where you are located, or did it just happen?
It just
happened, but
it just happened. I wasn't even candidating for a church. Pardon me. I was a member of Sharon Baptist Church under Bishop Keith Reed for 20 years. Left Sharon to go to a smaller congregation of about 1,200 members at Bible Way Baptist Church with Dr. Damon Jones. And while there, I got a call from a friend in ministry who said, "Hey, Mike, we're without a pastor. Can you come and preach and, some Sundays, and can you come and teach some Wednesday Bible studies for us?" And I did it. And out of the blue, they said, "We want you to be our pastor."
Oh.
So that's how that happened. That's how I ended up at Greater Enoch. We're a small congregation of about maybe 60 people on our rolls. So we're a small congregation. I kind of like the smaller feel. You really get to know people. They really have a chance to get to know you as a pastor because it's small. There's not a lot of layers. Get to the pastor because I'm doing everything. I lick stamps, I sweep the floor, clean the bathrooms, preach Sundays, so at smaller congregations, you're kind of doing it all. And so it was a wonderful, privilege to be asked to be their pastor. I was ordained through PEPCA, the Pennsylvania Eastern Keystone Baptist Association. And today actually is my anniversary. I was ordained on this day 9 years ago.
Oh, congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. That is tremendous. So this was a divine
yes.
path
Yes.
to North Philadelphia.
Your timing was impeccable too.
Now, you mentioned Keith Reed and Damon Jones, and they are both board members, or they are both affiliated with Missio Seminary, where I just graduated with your opening congratulatory remarks. And they are just powerful men of God. Like their presence, the spirit is just empowered when they engage, when they preach, when they speak. And as you're familiar with Missio, you're familiar with the move to the city from Hatfield, Pennsylvania. So we left the suburbs, came because we wanted to be right there in the heart of Philadelphia. So as we talk about you in North Philadelphia and the need to help our neighbors, to love our neighbors, to host the movie nights, to do the health fairs. How do you see Missio contributing and supporting the work that you and other pastors and bivocational pastors do?
I think with Missio moving to Philadelphia, having a presence in the Philadelphia regional area. It gives people like myself and other pastors and lay leaders an opportunity to learn how to do ministry in a very conservative way. And when I say conservative, adhering to the doctrines of the Word of God, making sure that the integrity of the Word of God is maintained in our teaching, in our teaching, in our equipping of others, of discipleship of others, and also in learning how to build community, because church is about relationship with God first, relationship with people second. And so as members of clergy and lay leaders in ministry, building relationship with people and community is so vitally important. And Missio, they understand that and they underscore that with how they equip their leaders that are coming to the school for learning. It's about relationship building and how the professors are truly invested in the students, and how the professors are truly invested in equipping the students to deal with an outward facing ministry responsibility. Because too often pastors and lay leaders, we fall into the trap of staying within the confines of our four walls and doing ministry within the comfort and confines of our four walls. But Missio has this underscoring importance of outward facing ministry, because that's ministry, taking ministry and making it mobile, making it portable, making it outside of the church. The church is the huddle, but the execution of the play is outside the church walls, and Missio understands that. And so I appreciate that they're now a part of the higher education space in Philadelphia in equipping, training, developing, and pushing out into the communities, pastors and lay leaders.
And I appreciate that, because that is such a big part of Missio being missional. And it's not just something that they say, it's something that they do, and that's given to or poured into students. So like you said, we're actually a part of that mission to go out into the world, follow Jesus into the world, but become immersed in the community. So when we now are offering new programs at Missio, as you know, we have the the Master of Arts in Church and Nonprofit Administration, because we can teach you, Missio can teach how to preach, we can teach you the church history, we can teach you all of those things, but it's also important that graduates walk out the door knowing how to run in a church or a nonprofit. And also for community members, we have a new program, a certificate of social enterprise, but that's for bivocational pastors like yourself, and also for community members who are passionate about social justice. Can you give me your thoughts about the importance of programs like that from a seminary, and not just from, a secular school, and what that means?
Absolutely. Well, in Matthew chapter 25, that chapter is dedicated to a very strong social justice theme. And for you guys to offer certificate programs and degree granting programs that equip people to address not only how to handle social justice in a ministerial way, not only in church, not only in the community, but also maybe in workplaces for people like myself who are bivocational. And also on top of that, to offer degree granting programs to make us more equipped, knowledgeable, and confident in how to not only just preach, but to manage the business side of ministry. Because, as a pastor, they don't, you go through a whole bunch of training and a whole bunch of indoctrination on how to preach and teach and equip people with Bible doctrine, but nobody teaches you how to manage the church. Nobody teaches you the business side, and that's like on-the-job training. So I applaud Missio for having the foresight and having the vision to do that. And social justice to me is a big deal. That certificate program that kind of addresses that you just mentioned. Jesus says, for us to, take care of the sick, visit those who are in jail, visit the sick, and give clothes and to the homeless, and to, feed and give drink to those that are destitute. And he says, if you've done it to the least of these, you've done it to me. That's a very, very powerful social justice theme there. And so we cannot ignore that. And that's at the very least what we should be doing in the church, visiting the sick, visiting those incarcerated, praying for those that are destitute, giving to those that are destitute, and making sure that we're uplifting humanity. Humanity is only as strong as its weakest link. And so if you're looking at your community, look where there's holes, look where there are voids in the community, where service is needed, where uplift is needed, and leverage your ministerial resources to address those needs. You may only have the resource to address it this much, but at least you're addressing a need in the community and not ignoring it. Maybe you have resources to address the need this much. Whatever measure of time, talent, and resources God has given us, we are called to use all of that to the benefit of mankind, first leading them to Christ. But to do that, Jesus often ministered to the need first to get their attention. And then once he had their attention, after doing the healings, after doing the miracles, then the people listen and he would preach. So we got to get in our mindset and break this paradigm where it's preach, when it's really about serving, being a servant leader in the community, and then giving them the ministry and gospel of Christ, right? And I applaud Missio for their certificate programs and their degree granting programs in Philadelphia that can, best equip us as clergy and lay leaders to do all of that.
I appreciate that too. And it sounds like you may need to teach one of our evangelism courses coming up.
Call me.
Yes,
call up, brother.
I'm putting you on speed dial. Soon as we finish this,
I'm there.
That is wonderful. And that's true. And that is so true. And you hit it on the nail on the head. And that's what we're called to do. And that's what we try to do. And I feel that the new programs will share that mission and give people another opportunity to go out and follow Jesus into the world and do what he's called us to do. So you summed that perfectly, Pastor. And as we look at there are a lot of schools in Philadelphia that offer nonprofit administration. And though we're coupling ministry and nonprofit, what do you see as just a benefit of doing it through a seminary as opposed to one of the other institutions?
I think you hit it on the head earlier in your own statement, in that it's an opportunity for us to equip pastors in particular in how to run a business, because church, there's a huge business aspect attached to it. And so to be able to have a program at Missio that teaches you how to manage a nonprofit, to understand business, to understand, the fiscal responsibilities and the organizational importance of managing a small or major nonprofit. Because, just because churches are nonprofit, that doesn't mean that they're not making money. There's some churches out here that are well funded in the multi-millions of dollars. I mean, it's a huge business. You take T.D. Jakes, for instance. He has, a publishing company. He has a movie production company, and he has, other business entities. And so, that takes a certain business mind, and not everybody's equipped for that. Like I said, we spend as clergy and as ministry leaders, we spend an enormous amount of time training, grooming, developing, discipling people for ministry. But what is sorely lacking, especially at the pastoral level, when it comes to being a pastor and running a church, those aspects of training are sorely missing in the experience. And so for deacons, because for churches that may have a pastor that left or pastor that, passed away, and they're left without, pastoral leadership. Good morning. I'm outside with my neighbors, sorry. To have, deacons prepared in the event that pastors leave and move on, or pastors have, died, and you still need people to be able to run the business side of the church. And so for Missio to have that, vision, that bold vision, to put something like this in place so that people can learn how to run a nonprofit, because let's not, deceive ourselves. Nonprofits are businesses. They are businesses. And so, we need to, have more of these kinds of opportunities. And right now, since you guys are probably the only, kid on the block offering it, you're probably going to have a whole bunch of people clamoring, banging on your doors now to get it, to take advantage of it. And that's going to be a good thing.
Amen to that. Yes, it is. Well, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate your time, but I appreciate your heart, and I appreciate the work that you do for the kingdom in Philadelphia.
Thank you.
And if Missio can be a resource to you or help serve you in your church, in your community, please let us know. Because like you said, it takes all of us. We are in this together, and it is a kingdom partnership.
It's not a solo act. And
at all.
Much love to you.
Much love to you. Thank you.